So I want to expand on the BB King box because most of y'all know it, but you kind of get stuck in it, and I want to kind of expand it out a little bit and give you some more ideas on how to play inside of it. So we'll do this in the key of G, and in order to find your regular BB King box, you're going to need to find your G note on the B string. So I happen to know that's right here on the 8th fret. This is my G note, and from here I can play this pattern. And that's going to give me my BB King box. Now, in the BB King box, most of these notes are major. So part of your major scale, they're going to sound a little brighter, not quite as blues and rock. But BB King does something interesting in that he adds a flatted third. This note right here, this 11th fret on the B string, that's your flatted third, and that gives you a real bluesy sound. Going back to that root note. So that's where you kind of get that blues sounding side the BB King box. The other notes are major notes in part of the major scale or the major pentatonic scale. But adding that note in there really kind of gives it that blues feel. So whenever you're wanting that real blues sound, make sure you really emphasize that note. Now, right off the bat, there's a note that we can add here, and that's our 5th. So whenever we go to the 5 chord, or if we're in G, this would be the D chord, we can add the D note in, and we find it right here on the 7th fret of the G string. So that's a really good note to go to if you're going to the 5 chord. So if I was playing, if I went to the 5 chord, to kind of go down and end on that note is going to sound really good, and then work my way back to my root note. Now, it's important to know that in any of these scales, any of the boxes that you learn, it's going to sound best if you kind of work around or go back to your root note. So in this case, our G note. Now we can expand this box a little further and give us some more notes to play. On this 10th fret of the B string, if we slide that up 2 frets, we can play this box and then go back into our regular box. So adding these notes in gives us a few more options. Now again, these are part of your major scale or your major pentatonic, so they're not going to sound bluesy by themselves, but you can play around with some bends and some slides and make them sound bluesier. Now, another thing that we can do to sort of add some different notes and flavors to this box is, instead of playing the notes as they are, we can start connecting them together using chromatics, or sort of one note at a time, one fret at a time. So for example, this 8th and 10th fret here on the E string, I can add that 9th fret in there. So I'm just walking up from 8 to 10, and then I can go back to my root note, and this gives you, once again, some more options inside of this box. So that's a really neat sounding lick. And all I'm doing is just connecting those notes chromatically. Even if I slide up here in this extension, I can also use chromatics in these. So just like I did here, I can do that up here. So just walking 10, 11, 12, just kind of bending this 10th fret here, and then going back to my root note on the B string. Also remember that anything you can do in one direction, you can also do in the other. So just like I was walking chromatically up, I can walk chromatically down. And I can also do that up here. So these are all things that you can do inside of your BB King box. Just little extra flares. Now, a typical lick that you might hear, especially, you can do it in blues, but I hear it in rock a lot and I hear it in country a lot, is to bend this 10th fret and then on the B string and hit this 10th fret on the E string. So that's a typical lick that you might get, and that's a really interesting one that you need to know and throw into your playing. But if you'll notice that when I'm bending this up, I'm bending it up to this note, part of that extension that we were playing up here, that extra box we're adding. So if I can bend up to that note, I can also slide up to that note. So that's going to add even a different flavor than bending it. Remember, always sliding up and bending, they're going to sound different. And play around anytime you've got a bend, play around with sliding it into that note. Or if you're sliding, play around with bending it. See which ones you like better, because this lick and that, yes, I'm hitting the same notes, but I'm thinking them as two different licks now that I can have in my bag, even though they're basically the same lick to me. Keeps me from having to learn completely new licks when I can just kind of modify the licks that I already know. So we can slide up to here. Remember, we've got chromatics. Now, one thing about the B.B. King box is that when it goes to your 4 chords, so if we're in G in this case, when it goes to our C chord, one thing that's going to really sound good is to really harp on that flatted third, that blues notes. So we might be sounding major the rest of the time, but when we go to that 4 chord, if we really kind of emphasize that bluesy sound by hitting that flatted third, then it's going to really add an extra dimension. And remember, when we go to our 5 chord, if we'll work our way down, so wherever you are, even if you're up here, work your way down to that D note, that 5 of your scale, then it'll really kind of emphasize the note that you're on, and then work your way back to the root note. Now, one more thing that B.B. King did inside of this box is he would hit his octave. So if you're using this extension, sliding up to these extra notes, then 3 frets up from where you're holding this top note on the E string, you get the octave. That is your G note up high, which most of y'all probably already know. But B.B. King would do some interesting things. So we can either walk up and hit that note, or B.B. King would grab it with his pinky and just kind of, he would rake across the strings, kind of deaden the strings with these fingers, and then just grab that fret with his pinky, and he would kind of slide it down like that. So he might be playing a lick down here, and he would reach up and grab that octave note. But if you know that it's there, then that'll once again kind of add extra notes that you can play, add an extra dimension of flavor. So let's put on a backing track and see what some of these might sound like in context of a song. So play around with these extra notes, and don't be afraid inside of any of your boxes, any of your patterns. Try these chromatic notes, sort of connecting these notes together with the notes in between. Experiment around with these different boxes, these different ideas. I hope you enjoy this, and as always, if you need something, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you.